Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight and thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. Our top story. Kate's social media post announcing her own death was seen by 40 million people. We'll talk to her husband.
She'd always try and take something from the diagnosis and turn it into a positive somehow. She would be really pleased with how this has played out.
Kate charted her journey as teacher with cancer and drew admiration from around the world. Also tonight, the team effort tackling the region's health problems. But what's the priority for the next government?
Hello there, and welcome to
Albert's Bookshelf.
And the Emmerdale actor motivated by his son to read bedtime stories. If you are reading this, I have already died. Not my words, those of Kate Rackham. Kate was 45 and lived in Greater Manchester. She had secondary breast cancer and co-founded a charity to help others, sharing her journey on social media as Teacher with Cancer. Well, Kate died last Wednesday. She left instructions for her husband to make one final post in her name, beginning with those words. If you're reading this, it means I have died. But do not cry for me, she went on. I have lived my life on my own terms, the way I wanted to. That social media post has been seen now nearly 41 million times, all around the world. I've been speaking to Kate's charity co-founder, Catherine Gordon-Orr, and her husband, Mark.
Kate obviously had this public profile on Twitter, or X, that I was aware of. But although me and the rest of the family knew she was doing good stuff, we had no idea of how far the reach had gone. She obviously wrote that tweet wanting to make a huge impact. She knew what she was doing. She had this little phrase, use the problem. So she'd always try and take something from the diagnosis and turn it into a positive somehow. And she would be really pleased with how this has played out. She left us several instructions, not just posting that tweet. She's managed to plan her entire funeral as well. And yeah, we did it without really thinking about it too much, and it was only over the next 24 hours we realised the impact of it.
Catherine, you saw that organisational skill, that laser focus on being able to organise things, because you, with Kate and another friend, you set up a charity to help women with secondary breast cancer.
Yes, we decided to create Fighting to be Heard. That was the original campaign name, and we decided to create it into a charity to predominantly initially support people through the cost of living crisis, to support them with, a financial grant. Because
lots of people can't work, can they, when they've had this diagnosis?
But Kate did work right up until maybe a few
very recently.
Yeah, very recently. She was remarkable in every way. That's the word I like to use about her. She was remarkable. But, you think about it, Kate had, limited time, which she knew, and so did Jill, our other friend who's just passed, who was the treasurer. And yet they chose to give their time to others in the same situation as themselves, which is, again, remarkable.
We were just talking before we came on. I mean, my mum died of secondary. She had breast cancer. It metastasised and she died. I've got a friend who's going through what Kate, a very good friend who went through what Kate was going through, what Kate went through. How tough was that journey, Mark? Because you've lived with it for 8 years, haven't you?
It's 7 years since a primary diagnosis, and my children were 3 and 4 when she was diagnosed. Obviously, her diagnosis has progressed into secondary breast cancer. That was 5 years ago. That was earth-shattering because it's obviously a terminal diagnosis. There was lots of things that had to change in our lives. She had to give up drinking. She couldn't go running because she had mets in her bones and in her pelvis, obviously in her liver. That's why she gave up drinking. So her lifestyle changed, but it didn't stop her being on the dance floor till 2 in the morning. It was me that wanted to go to bed first. And that was Kate. And then on the important stuff, she'd always use her diagnosis to do everything that she could to raise awareness and help other people. And I've had loads of lovely messages from people around the world, actually, who she's helped through digital conversations. And then I've also had messages from people locally who didn't realise she was from Manchester, saying that she helped them as well when to come to terms with the diagnosis or for some information or some, you know, pathfinding into one therapy or another, various things, which is lovely.
And that want to help others, Catherine, continues, because the work of the charity that you founded with her will very much continue now.
1,000,000%. And we're actually launching a book in October, and one of the things that Mark and Kate had experienced was a gap in support whilst a child is going through the journey with their parent on a secondary diagnosis. And one of the things we're going to do with the book is give all the money to supporting counselling or in some shape or form for people and families, you know, and specifically children affected by secondary breast cancer.
And that brings us to a final question, really. I mean, you have lost your wife, but 2 little girls have lost their mum. How are they?
We're still in shock. You know, it's 5 days on from when she died. We did everything we could to build resilience in the children. We constantly struggled with trying to have a strategy of how much have we said to them? Are they informed? Have we been honest with them? But without, at the same time, you know, creating chronic stress in a child's life. They've gone into school today. They wanted to see the friends. Kate told us we've got to crack on, keep moving forward, and that's what we're trying to do. So we just take each day as it comes at the moment.
We wish you all the very best.
Thanks.
Thank you both very much, Catherine, particularly Mark, for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Catherine and Mark there speaking to me a little earlier. Thank you again to them, and very best wishes to Mark, of course, and his 2 girls after the loss of their mum. Now, you are counting, I know, 17 days to go until the general election. Every night we're rounding up the news from around the region on the campaign trail. Steve Saul is here this evening. You've got the honour of doing it for us, Steve.
I have, yes. Thanks, Roger. So Nigel Farage set out Reform UK's election policies today and also declared he would absolutely stand to be the UK's Prime Minister by 2029. He called his policies not a manifesto, but a contract with the people. He said he wanted his party to be the voice of opposition and promised a freeze on non-essential immigration as well as tax cuts. Well, one area which could become a surprise battleground this general election is the Ribble Valley. It's traditionally Conservative, but changes to the constituency boundaries and recent local election results might bring about a change. Our political editor Annabelle Tiffins met some of the candidates hoping to win this true blue Lancashire seat.
The Ribble Valley has been a Conservative heartland. The constituency has had the same Tory MP for 32 years. But this election, things are looking a little different. Labour has a commanding lead in the polls, but here in the Ribble Valley, there's another factor at play: boundary changes. Out goes Clitheroe and in comes parts of Preston. Will that make a difference to the political landscape? Campaigning today, the Labour candidate certainly hopes so.
Labour is currently polling 6 points ahead of the Conservatives in Ribble Valley, but every vote will count. We know that polls are just polls, turnout will be very different. So there is a real chance for change here in Ribble Valley, but it will need everyone to turn out on July the 4th.
In the 2019 general election, Nigel Evans won with more than an 18,000 majority. But in the local elections in 2023, the Conservatives lost control of Ribble Valley Council. Are you finding that people are voting for you because you're Nigel Evans, but not because you're a Tory?
I know that the Conservatives are way behind, but in a constituency like this, I'm not finding that on the doorstep. It does seem to me that maybe the Labour Party in certain constituencies are piling up the majorities, but in this seat, I'm certainly not seeing it on the doorstep.
The Liberal Democrats believe that this is a three-way battle for the Ribble Valley seat.
Firstly, the Tories have run out of steam. Labour are terrified of their own shadow in terms of suggesting things that are different to the Tories, and what Lib Dems are proposing is a bold progressive change, whether it is sorting out the sewage in our streams, whether it is making sure carers are paid properly, whether it is making sure you can get a GP appointment. These are really important things that matter to people.
Kasim Ajmi is an independent and a doctor. He's campaigning on the NHS.
I would like to win and I want to raise the voice because it is a very crucial stage, not just for patients, but for doctors as well.
There are 6 candidates in total standing for the Ribble Valley seat. The Green candidate, Caroline Montague, was poorly and couldn't take part today. The Reform UK candidate, John Carroll, didn't reply to our requests for an interview. Annabelle Tiffin, BBC North West Tonight.
And here is a list of all those candidates standing for the Ribble Valley constituency. Find out more on the BBC News website. Now, the NHS needs to spend more money on keeping people healthy and less on treating them when they're ill. It's something every government knows, but in reality, our hospitals are under more pressure than ever. So what needs to be done? Our health correspondent Jill Dummigan's been looking at the challenges facing whoever's next in power.
60 players, 6 teams, but just one real opponent.
After COVID, I needed to lose weight. I've always, been a big lad, and I've never really weighed myself, but I came here to get involved in a team sport. Found out about this place and found out that Bury Council were actually funding places for us as well.
In the northwest, more than a quarter of adults are now classed as obese. It's fast becoming the #1 cause of preventable deaths nationally, and it's costing the NHS £6.5 billion a year. So in Bury, the council's public health team is funding the first 14 weeks of each course.
Yeah, everything's going really well. I've currently lost 3 stone.
I'm enjoying just the social aspects of it. I've lost 8 kilos in 7 weeks.
And you've lost 10% of your body weight?
Yeah. So just over 2 stone.
We hear every week, the guys weigh in every week, we give them some kind of lifestyle guidance and advice, and then they go and they play football for 30 minutes. They're part of something that's healthy, it's bigger than themselves. It's a real community feel as well.
Every government wants people to keep healthy. It's by far the best and cheapest option. But our population is now older with more long-term sickness than ever before. So the NHS is having to deal with that increased demand and still catching up post-pandemic. They're constantly playing a defensive game, tackling each crisis as it comes along.
What we have is not a national health service. We have a national sickness service in the UK. We have longer waits. We have issues with getting GP appointments. We have crises where we see ambulances queuing outside hospitals for access to A&E.
Hospital waiting lists have gone down from their peak, but they're still huge. In April, just 54% of this region's patients were seen within the national target of 18 weeks. Nearly 52,000 have been waiting a year or longer. And then there's A&E. In May 2014, no one in the northwest waited longer than 12 hours there to get a hospital bed. This May, it was nearly 10,500.
It's normally been good, but about 6-7 weeks ago I tore my tendon. I got there at 6 o'clock at night. I got home at 8 o'clock next morning, but I never got seen for about 7.5 hours. It was just, chaos. It was chaos.
So did you do that here?
I did. Yeah.
And you had to go to A&E?
Yeah, I did. So I went to, I think it was Rochdale A&E, and it was amazing. I was in and out within an hour, and then the next morning I got a call at 8 in the morning saying don't have your breakfast, and then by 10 o'clock I was in Oldham Hospital, and then by 3 o'clock I'd had my operation.
So you had a really good experience in the
Incredible,
NHS.
yeah.
And it is worth remembering that the NHS does successfully treat millions of people every year. Its continuation is near the top of virtually every voter's list. But tackling the challenges takes cash, and that's in short supply. Do you think they need more money?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Need more money and more staff.
It's never had enough resources. There have been times when we've managed it really well, but over the last 10 years, we have not put in as much money as other countries in comparison. And now we're seeing the impact of that.
0.5 off. Well done.
In the past 10 weeks, the lads here have lost 46 stone between them. So in this game, they're all winners. The question is whether the next government can be equally successful. Jill Dummigan, BBC North West Tonight, Radcliffe.
Now, elsewhere today, the Lib Dems say fuel duty relief should be expanded to 20 new areas to support motorists in rural communities. And one of those places is Cumbria. Retailers right now could apply for a 5p per litre relief, which is then passed on to motorists in places where costs are generally higher. The Conservatives say they have a clear plan to back drivers by ruling out road pricing, and Labour say it would restore plans to ban the sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2030, arguing it gives certainty to manufacturers that invest more in automotive gigafactories and fix Britain's roads. Now, yesterday we ran a piece looking at housing in Westmoreland and Lonsdale in the Lake District, which is an issue for younger voters. There are 8 candidates standing in total there. They're Phil Clayton for the Green Party, Tim Farron for the Liberal Democrats, Matty Jackman for the Conservatives, Wendy Long for the Social Democratic Party, Pippa Smith for Labour, Izzy Soliberati for the Heritage Party, John Studholme standing as an independent, and James Townley for Reform UK. Details of those candidates on the BBC website. Roger, I've taken over your programme, but we are looking for your views and your comments about the election campaign. You can email us for Your Voice, Your Vote, BBC Your Voice at bbc.co.uk.
Yes, indeed. Steve, thank you very much. Lots of election news, as you'd expect, in the run-up to the election. Now, another news tonight, a schoolboy's been charged after a lollipop man was attacked by a gang riding scrambler bikes in Preston. The man, who's in his 70s, was taken to hospital with fractured ribs. A 13-year-old was charged with causing grievous bodily harm with intent. Another boy, aged 15, has been arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving. Warrington Borough Council has had its credit rating withdrawn by the agency Moody's. The council has a debt of over £1.8 billion and has come under scrutiny for a number of investments, including one in a collapsed energy firm. The council says it's one of only a few councils with a credit rating and, like others, it's been impacted by delays in signing off council accounts. Sir Paul McCartney will play 2 dates, not in Liverpool, but in Manchester, as he announced his first UK shows since 2018. He'll perform some of the old hits and some new ones too at the Co-op Live Arena on the 14th and 15th of December, along with 2 dates in London. It's all part of his long-running Got Back tour. You could say got a bad back tour, but he keeps on going and he's still as young looking as ever, isn't he? He's absolutely fantastic. Right, let's have a look at sport. Richard is here and we've got a new boxing champion, Rich, who credits his success with his young daughter.
He does, Roger, yes. Buxton's Jack Massey, who fought brilliantly to win the European and Commonwealth cruiserweight titles at the weekend. Jack won unanimously, even, easy for me to say, on points against Isaac Chamberlain, which could put him in line for a world title shot next. And as he told me today, it was a promise he made to his young daughter, Bonnie, that drove him on at Selhurst Park.
Oh, immensely proud, you know. I'm proud of, everyone what's got behind me and everyone what knew I could do it.
At the most difficult moments, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were thinking about your young 1-year-old daughter, Bonnie, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely. I looked down at my glove and I had Bonnie on my shorts and I had him on my glove there, and I just looked at her and I told her before I came down it was her first birthday on the Wednesday. Did all the presents in the morning and I got the train down to London at 12 o'clock. But I said before I left, I said, I'm bringing you back to 2 lovely shiny birthday presents. I looked down at my glove, saw her name. I said, in my head, I said, I'm doing this for you.
What does it mean to you, Jack, that you've managed to do that?
Oh, it means the world. It doesn't stop here. On to bigger things as well. So it's, it's absolutely.
Go to the very top. Have you always had that belief?
Yeah, definitely. This is my life. This is what I do.
Brilliant. And what are you going to do now then? You're going to have any downtime with the family and so on?
Yeah, so I'm taking the girls away. My partner, she was 30 in April, so I didn't get a chance to take her away then. So we're going to Sicily on Wednesday. My little girl, obviously, she was 1 last week, so taking them both away for a week in Sicily. And then stag do in a few weeks.
Oh, your stag do?
Yeah, my stag do.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
Yeah, on the 5th of July we're going to Portugal, and then...
Watch out, Portugal, Jack, I say.
And then we get married on the 22nd of August. So, big year.
Wow, many congratulations on all that, Jack.
Thank you.
And it really feels as though, everything is coming together for you. Does it feel like that?
Absolutely, yeah. All coming together, we've kicked down the door now, and we've got 2 big bargaining chips here, and all systems go. Let's keep the big fights coming.
Finally, what appears to be very good news on Liverpool's legendary defender Alan Hansen. His former teammate Graham Souness has reported that he spoke to him yesterday on the phone and that Alan sounded well and in good spirits, adding that he hopes it means that he is on his way to a full recovery. Great news there, Roger. Let's hope for more good news on Alan before too long.
Yeah, it really is. Fingers crossed. Richard, thank you very much. Richard's had the sport for us tonight. We've got the weather on the way in a minute with Sarah Blizzard. But before that, Rich was talking then about a young daughter inspiring her dad. Well, we've got a young son inspiring his father now, because it's well known that reading bedtime stories to children can help with their language development and foster a love of reading. And now an Emmerdale actor is doing his bit with a series of children's audiobooks. It's called Albert's Bookshelf, and it's been inspired by Danny Miller's son, Albert, as Jasmine Dufresne reports.
Hello there, and welcome to
Albert's Bookshelf.
You may recognise Danny Miller from series such as Emmerdale and I'm a Celeb, but today the actor and father of two is recording a story. Danny and his friend Nigel have teamed up to make Albert's Bookshelf, a free podcast sharing children's audiobooks.
Albert's Bookshelf is just an idea that came about from me sending a little tweet out, or X as it is now, saying that I wanted to record some books because I was going back to Emmerdale, and because of that I felt like I was going to miss out on bedtime, which for Albert is, you know, story time, and he loved it.
They were great, like the stories were really good, and I just said to him, you know, it would be such a shame if we don't share these with everybody and create Albert's Bookshelf.
Not enough room in my house, wise old man.
The two created the podcast last summer with hopes to bring families together through reading and listening along.
Story time is one of the best things about being a dad. You know, bringing stories to life and reading stories to your little one. So as soon as we started to record them, it was just, you know, what a great idea, and you know, it's just gone through the roof.
We've got a sort of an app that allows us to see where people are downloading it, and there's some countries, if I'm absolutely honest, I hadn't even heard of. And it's, you know, I think it was the last time I counted, it was 119 countries. Look me up and
Down.
I'm the
Shiny dancing town.
It's kind of gone from recording a few books to being this sort of endless ideas of getting more education to the kids and allowing them to sort of have story time, but in a fun and open and relaxed environment, really. It's so easy kind of to just put an iPad in front of them and allow them to watch mindless stuff. It's nice to have met you, but now I must fly. And he spread out his wings and was off through the sky.
Danny and Nigel aim to eventually do some of their own releases, writing children's books together. We've
Recorded at least 70 odd books now, and I feel like I know which one's a good story and which isn't, so hopefully we can sort of use that knowledge and try and write our own that, you know, takes over Julia Donaldson and that sort of stuff.
The pair hope for other kids to love story time just as much as Albert does.
And as always, Albert say, thanks for listening.
Jasmine Dufresne, BBC North West Tonight.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is so good, isn't it, for youngsters to be read to and to get that love of reading from an early age. Right, let's have a look at the weather forecast, shall we? Apparently it's going to be warming up. I don't know if that's true. Here's Sarah with the forecast.
Hello, good evening. Well, we are going to see a positive change in the weather in the next few days, although I don't think this collie, this lovely dog behind me here, is too worried about what the weather's been doing over the last few days at all. Just enjoying being out in the fresh air, but cloudy skies across Lancashire first thing. And we will start to see that change happening as the area of low pressure that's still with us starts to depart and a ridge of high pressure then starts to build in from the west. So the change really starts to happen through Tuesday afternoon and into Wednesday, but we have got clearer spells around overnight for a time tonight, and it is a dry night, just the clouds starting to come back in again into the early hours. The temperatures dropping to lows of around 9 or 10 Celsius tonight, but through Tuesday a bit more of a northerly wind direction starting to develop, the cloud increasing. I think the best of any brightness might be for the Isle of Man for a time, temperatures there around 15 Celsius, but it's going to trigger some heavy showers into the afternoon tomorrow, maybe the odd rumble of thunder as well. Highs of around 18 18 or 19 Celsius. And then the warmer air gradually starts to filter in again. So we will feel a little bit more comfortable when it comes to the temperatures, where it's been quite cold over the last few weeks. We will see the change, though, through Wednesday. And Wednesday might start off a little bit overcast, a bit cloudy initially. But as we're heading into the afternoon on Wednesday, an improvement as that cloud gradually starts to thin and break. So the chance of a bit more sunshine to end the day on Wednesday, with the temperatures again gradually starting to climb.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. It seems to be improving slightly, doesn't it? We might get something resembling summer by the end of June. Who knows? Don't forget, you can get in touch with your comments about the general election, the issues, the questions that you might have via the BBC website. Go to bbc.co.uk, search for Your Voice, Your Vote. There's a form there where you can fill in what you'd like to say and send it through to us. Now, for the rest of next 2 or 3 nights, I think, North West Tonight's a little bit all over the place because of the football. I hope you'll bear with us, but we will be back at 6:30 as normal at some point. But in the meantime, we'll be here at 10:30 with the late news. So thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.